Hello everybody, Jake Raby here, Flat 6 Innovations. I want to welcome you back to yet another video in our series, A Focus on IMS Bearing Failure. Now in today's video, I'm going to show you a lot of the things that we've done to create this R40 Flat 6 Innovations 4-liter street and track performer engine that we're going to install into this Porsche 996 that failed due to an IMS bearing failure at 29,000 miles. So what is an R40 engine? Why is this thing all painted up like this? Well, for a long time, I've had a significant amount of interest for the next level of attention to detail. And that's not just talking about the internals, it's talking about the ancillaries. And we have a lot of customers that come to us and they have a bone stock car. That bone stock car may have failed, or it may be an elective type job. If it's an elective type job, then the schedules and all these things are a lot easier. So we prefer elective jobs because we can give you an exact price on what it takes for us to recreate the engine into whatever series of my engine that you're going to buy. In this case, it would be the R40. So one of the unique things about what we do is we don't do the same job twice. And basically what you see here is the Flat 6 Custom Shop. And we have developed another area of our facility that is typically used for research and training only, and we've turned it into the custom shop. So since Corona and COVID-19, as we call it here in 2020, has popped up, we're not able to utilize the training facility that we have here for hands-on instruction. We're still doing a lot of technical training online. I'm still working on, obviously, these videos. We're still doing consulting for shops and for individuals, but our hands-on training has pretty much ceased. And it's probably going to be that way for a while. We may not have hands-on classes here again. So I took the area that we're using for the hands-on training and I've converted it into the Flat 6 Custom Shop. And I've been doing more work like the engine that you see in front of me here. And what really makes the R40 is the fact that it's the next level of everything. The next level of cylinder head prep, the next level of componentry, the next level of compression ratio, cylinder head port work. All the other things that we always kind of have to compromise a little bit due to price or due to timeline are forgotten about. That is what makes an R40 an R40. Why is it red and black? Well, because we're in Georgia and we're Georgia Bulldogs. Athens, Georgia is about 20 miles up the road from us and everything there is red and black. A lot of people around here bleed red and black. So we want to make sure that this engine is unmistakably a Flat 6 Innovations R-Series engine. So every one of them come red trimmed in black. That's the best way for us to put a custom signature on this engine that can be seen a mile away. If you see red trimmed in black, you're seeing a Flat 6 Innovations R-Series engine. So this is the car that has become known as Mr. M9X. That is what it says on the license plate, as you can tell there. I just want to take you for a little bit of a drive. The car is basically, at this point, ready to go on the market. So I just want to kind of let you guys see what a 4-liter experience is like. And I'm going to take you for a little drive here on some of the back roads in northeast Georgia where we do the break-in of all the Flat 6 Innovations engines, okay? So let's go for a little bit of a ride. This is going to be very informal. So first things first, I got to get a little bit more heat in it. I've only driven it a few miles here, so I'd like to just let the engine get up to temperature happily. As you can tell, I'm kind of short shifting. This is the way that I always start these cars when I'm driving them, especially when it's cold outside. It's probably in the mid-40s right now on this early January day in 2021. So just kind of taking you on a little bit of a drive, and I want to walk you through some of the things that are characteristics of an R40 engine. So it's kind of rare for me to do something like this for a car that I own. Because typically I just get the cars and drive them. I don't do anything special with them, even though I can. I'm too busy doing things special for other people. And most of my cars are kind of weird in the fact that they are, you know, something I've imported or something that's got some crazy character traits. So while I do own a lot of Porsches, most of them are air-cooled. But I do love these earlier 996s. This car is a 2003. We put just about 2,500 miles on it in the time since the R40 engine was done, and it's been through all the dyno operations, and everything's good to go. Consumption settled down. Everything's kind of doing what it does at about the 2,500 or so mile mark. It's at the point now where I've got the break-in tune out of the ECU, and I've uploaded the 93 octane aggressive tune at this point in time. That is not the most aggressive tune that I have programmed for this particular engine and this particular car, but it's probably about the best that I would want to put in this car for daily driving, like what we've been doing here with it for like probably the last 4 months or so now. So you guys have seen the video about how we built the engine and how everything has gone together, the paint detail, the laser etching of all the components, the things that make it a true R series engine. And very interestingly enough, here I've got a guy rolling up on me in a newer Vet. It's kind of strange because that really doesn't happen up on these back roads very often, especially this time of year. There's not really too many people that are out in early January in these mountains. All the vacation periods are over and that sort of thing. But this guy might have just came up for a day trip from Atlanta or something. That's what typically happens. So I'm going to make a left turn here and go up on my favorite road for having a little bit of fun. And these engines are all about average power. You know, everybody asks me, how much horsepower does it make? It makes enough. And I answer that by saying it makes a lot, okay? This particular engine is tuned for just over 400 horsepower at the crankshaft as it is right now, and it is tuned for a very broad RPM range that will do a little bit of everything. So it's got good power. That was nowhere near anything more than about half throttle. Like I said, I'm still warming it up. It's just about to 180 now. I'll give it another couple of minutes before I kind of wail on it a little bit. Just to be safe. The oil does take a little bit longer to warm up than the coolant does, and I'd already driven it a few miles before I started rolling the video here. Had to just get to a pretty good spot to be able to do that. So very linear power delivery, instantaneous throttle response, as you can see there, instantaneous torque. The torque this engine creates across the entire RPM range is just astounding. And that's probably the thing that really makes the biggest difference here. And they've kind of screwed our road up with the yellow line being all perforated and jacked up. So this road's not nearly as fun as it used to be as I'm up here doing my test work. But as you can see, there's no traffic here, and it's a perfect place to come put miles on these cars, and where we don't really have to worry about other vehicles being around us, especially this time of year. So what I've designed this engine to do is exactly what it is doing right here. That very flat, linear power delivery, instantaneous throttle response, a good peak horsepower number without compromising torque and without compromising drivability. That is huge. Too many times, guys, we'll build an engine for nothing more than making a big peak horsepower number, and in doing so, they completely kill the entirety of the RPM curve. They take away all the power down low, they take away all the mid-range, and they create something that is an undrivable pig, because the only thing they cared about was making a big dyno number, therefore impressing their customer. Well, I impress my customers with drivability and reliability and longevity and all the things that actually matter for a return on the investment for what you spend to purchase this engine that has taken a large portion of my life. So I'm going to end up selling this car, okay? I pretty much built this car up with the sole intent of using it as a showcase for the R40 and the R series line of engines that we've created, and also for the Focus on IMS bearing failure series, where this car basically with 29,000 miles and under original ownership failed, with a customer, or actually an owner at the time, who knew nothing about IMS bearing failures. So I've had my fun with the car. We finished the R40 series, we finished the Focus on IMS bearing series, and now it's time for somebody else to enjoy the car. I've got more things in my stable that I would like to drive more than this, because I like old, simple cars. This is an older, simpler Porsche in the modern world, but it's just not for me. You know, it's just really not for me anymore. I kind of like to drive an old Volkswagen with points and carburetors and condensers and you know, things that are super simple and only have what is absolutely essential. So I'll sell this car, and I'll probably turn around and invest that money right back into an old vintage Volkswagen, because at the end of the day, that's what I love pretty much more than anything. That's just me. And a lot of people viewing this video would think that's kind of crazy. But to do what I do, you got to be a little bit more than kind of crazy. You kind of got to be full-on crazy. So, long story short, and I'm just on this road kind of letting things just show you guys, hey, this is what the engine is like. And I'll get it on a little bit of a straightaway here in a second so I can let you hear it growl a little bit. I've got one of my more favorite parts of this road coming up here soon. So I just dropped down into second gear here. Instantaneous throttle response. It's not loud, it's not deafening, it doesn't have a drone. This car retained the Porsche Sport exhaust, which we try to retain as much as possible. I'm not big on aftermarket mufflers. I like the Pfister D modifications. I like this, you know, the factory Porsche Sport exhaust. I like that sound. I can flip a switch and the engine ends up getting quieter, which I just did. So now I'll get on it a little bit and you can hear what it's like with the exhaust in the closed or quiet mode. I'll give you a little example here. So this engine actually made what would equate to 400 flywheel horsepower with the Porsche Sport exhaust in the quiet mode, okay? It made more than that, an undisclosed amount more than that, at peak horsepower with the exhaust in the open position with this 93 octane aggressive tune, okay? So here we go, guys, just so you can feel my pain a little bit. Here we have what I refer to as a Flatlander. Fella's got a Florida license plate, which means we love him coming here and spending his money in our mountains, but he is afraid of a curve because he's from the flatlands, so he's a Flatlander. These guys get in my way up on this mountain, so luckily he's got some good courtesy here. He's going to go ahead and pull over and get out of my way before I have to ride his bumper and make him do that. But he's probably here to enjoy the scenery while I'm here to get a job done, okay? So, dropped it back down here. Instantaneous. And that was still with the exhaust closed, okay? And I'll open it back up right there, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and turn around at my designated turnaround spot here. I'm going to take you back down to where it's a little bit flatter land, and I can show you a little bit more of what this thing has got. In comparison to a stock or a factory 996, it's pretty crazy, the difference. It just goes. It's all about getting the job done. It's very understated on the outside. That little R40 badge at the bottom of the A-pillar there tells people that know what an R40 is, that this is not a normal 996, even though it looks like one on the outside. When I was younger, I used to like to make things look faster than they were. I was all about making my Volkswagen look more like a Porsche or share Porsche parts. As I've gotten older, I like to make things very understated, and I like to make them overperform. So I like to make sleepers. I like to make things that are very unassuming. Somebody looks at this car, and until they see that little badge, they have no idea that this isn't just a regular old 9962 3.6 powered 996 that probably has a whole lot of engine problems. That's what everybody thinks. They have no idea that it's fitted with an IMS solution, Nicky cylinders, all the R40 package, and they have no idea that the engine is producing over 400 horsepower at the flywheel. And that's what I like. And I say the same thing to my customers. They're like, hey, you got decals, you got this, I want to put a windshield banner on. How the hell with all that? You know, let the people wonder why your car is faster. Spank their asses on the track or on the street or when you go out for a ride with PCA guys, and let those people wonder how you did it. Make them think that it's all on the driver. I don't need you to advertise for me. We got more business than we can handle. We've always had more business than we can handle. It's not about building the most, it's about building the best. And I'm happy if I build engines for people that equate to 1% of Porsche 996 and 997 ownership. I'm perfectly happy with that. Because I live very simply, and I live a life of performance, development, evaluation, and application. Now it's just a little blast now. I'm still, still at the top. I was actually about third gear there. And just rolling the throttle. I'm not stabbing the throttle, guys. I'm just rolling on it. This is a pretty good little curve here. That got the PSM to come on a little bit. Now I'm even lugging it down in third. But there you go. Instant throttle response. Very linear. There's no place in the RPM range where this engine does not perform. There's no place in the RPM range where this engine leaves you wanting more on a road like this. If you're a drag racer and you're looking for big horsepower numbers in the top end, well, you should probably go buy an American car, buy a Vet, buy something like that, because that's not what these cars are about. These cars are about exactly what I'm doing right now, and having fun and making power everywhere and making it live. It's not, what good does a power do if you can't freaking drive the thing because it stays broken all the time? That's not what we're about. Flat Six Innovations engine program is about coupling that reliability, longevity, drivability, and all those things with performance. And this is classic hot rodding. A lot of guys are like, oh, I want to do a conversion. I want to do your conversion. There's no freaking conversion done, guys. This is not a conversion. This is the original engine out of this car. Nobody's converted anything. I've taken classic hot rodding that I've been doing since I was the age of 8 years old, and I've built this engine bigger. I built this engine to make more power and to live longer. And I hope this Flatlander didn't get in front of me. That's good. Okay, so now that we don't have to worry about any traffic in front of us, I'll pick up where I was before. Yeah, it's about reliability, longevity, performance at all RPM ranges, and it's about making something that even your wife can drive without complaining, okay? I've had guys all the time say, hey, my wife never liked to drive my car until I got it back with your engine, because it wasn't easy to stall anymore. It was easy for her to take off on hills because, of course, a manual gearbox, a 3-pedal car, and it's a lot harder to stall it now. It's making more power all over the place. It's making more torque all over the place. And because of that, people like to drive it more. I've had guys that had really low mileage cars, like this one, 29,000 miles on a car that's 18 years old. And they had all these low miles on the car. I put the engine in the car, and instantly they got 10,000 miles more on the car in 3 months. Because they freaking love to drive it because of what we've created, okay? And a lot of times people will compare this to any other 4-liter engine. They're like, oh, these other guys built a 4-liter. The difference is those other guys did it because we pioneered it. They did it because we proved you could do it first. I had the first engine program in the United States of America for these engines. And we still maintain the only true engine program. Everybody else is a shop haphazardly building engines in the corner when they get an order. That's not what we do. We have a factory where engines are designed, developed, and built, and then tested and perfected and tuned under our roof. It's a whole different world, okay? So you can't just judge a character based on how big it is, okay? You can't judge an engine based on what size it is. So now I'm back down off the mountain here. So yes, there's nothing like you actually driving this car to see how it's performing, but it gets the freaking job done, as you can tell. I'm going uphill right now, okay? This is like a 6% grade, and it still did that. I can take this car to the other side of the mountain. I can put the car in 6th gear, and I can climb the side of a mountain for 4 miles and accelerate in 6th gear going up a 7% grade. I'm doing it all the time. That's one way that I break the rings in these engines, and do so very quickly, and that is extremely difficult to do. If you try to do that with a stock engine, or even one that has upgrades done to it, the engine will fall on its face. It will not perform, it will not pull, it will not accelerate. But I can put this car in top gear and accelerate up the side of a mountain with no problem. Now, it doesn't accelerate fast, but it will gain speed over that 4 miles. And guess what? When I get to the top of the mountain, I drop down 3 gears and I let the car decelerate under engine braking. And by the time I get to the bottom of that mountain, the rings have seated. That's how we break engines in here. And we've done this for 18 years up and down that one particular road, okay? And it works extremely well. Down at the bottom end of 2nd gear here, instantaneous. Power everywhere. I'll say that over and over again. This is where we kick everybody's ass. Then I drop it back down. This is what you can't buy anywhere else. You won't know that until you buy the wrong thing. But at the end of the day, this car is for sale. Now, I was going to sell it on Bring a Trailer, but I don't like the fact that I don't know who's buying it. It's not that I'm trying to be an elitist or anything like that, but it's very, very important to me that I have a personal relationship in some way with a person who's going to buy this car. Because I've got to make sure that I can tell that person in my own words, kind of like the do's and don'ts of purchasing a car from me, right? I want to make sure the guy is not an entitled jerk. There are people out there like that. I want to make sure that he's buying the car for the right reason. I want to make sure that he understands this is not a drag car. It makes power everywhere, very linear, very high level of throttle response, but it is not something that's going to give him a crazy trap speed or a crazy elapsed time if he takes it to a drag strip. But Porsche owners and Porsche cars don't see very many of them at the drag strip. You see them on roads and streets just like what I'm on right now. And this is what I built this engine and what we build all of our engines to do. So this one being an R40, it is in the upper echelon of the Stage 2 family. But a Stage 2 street and track performer would still perform a lot like this particular engine. This one's going to make more power, but the R40, because it's an R series. However, a lot of the other engines that we build make similar power to this. They don't have the signature series behind them. They don't get the body badging. They don't get the paint detail. They don't get the engine being put together by me personally, like this particular one was, like all the R series that have the full options are. But a stage 2 is all you need to make one of these cars perform just like what you're seeing here. And I plan to do some videos of some standard stage 2 cars pretty soon, all right? Just a lot of fun to drive. There's no need for more power than this on a street, for a street car. But like I said, I do have another tune left in our handheld programmer that would make this car more aggressive, and I've also put a tune in the car for track work. And then I've also got one for if somebody wants to run like C10 VP fuel, which is pretty much what we tune for the guys that want to run a race gas, if you will. So we can do a tune for that. And this engine will make about an extra 20 horsepower with that particular fuel. So right there, I just got on it, lit up that inside tire, and triggered the PSM. You're not going to do that with a stock engine in one of these cars. It's not going to happen. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this drive with Jake, and I hope you understand a little bit more about the R40 engine, about the R series, about what we do to build these engines, no matter if it's a stage 2 or an R series. We're always looking for broad power, that instantaneous throttle response, that linear power delivery, the very smooth idle, not just from a vibration perspective, but from the engine sitting there idling just like it's a stock engine. I want this vehicle to maintain a character of basically a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't want it to be overstated. I want it to be understated, and I want it to overperform above and beyond what anybody would expect it to do. Okay? So here I am heading back to Flat 6 Innovations. They're doing a whole lot of road work in front of us here, so I can't get on it one more time for you guys. But this vehicle is going up for sale. I'm going to list it for sale for $55,000, and I'm going to see how long it takes to sell. I was going to put it on Bring a Trailer, but I don't really like that auction format, and I don't really think that it's the best way for me to sell a car like this one that I want to make sure is going to go to a purchaser who understands why we created it. So here I am at the gate at Flat 6 Innovations, Raby Engine Development. Hope you guys have enjoyed things. I'm going to open up the gate and go into my world. Thanks.